Hey voters, it's Carly from Ballotpedia, here to walk you through some of the most notable ballot measures happening across the country on November 4th, 2025. Voters in 6 states will decide on 24 statewide ballot measures at the general election. Altogether, 30 statewide measures are certified for the ballot in 9 states this year. However, earlier in 2025, voters in Louisiana, Ohio, and Wisconsin decided on 6 ballot measures, approving 2 and rejecting 4. Now, let's take a closer look at 10 ballot measure elections to watch this November. California voters will decide on Proposition 50. If approved, Proposition 50 would allow the state to use a new legislature-drawn congressional district map, replacing the one created by California's Citizen Redistricting Commission in 2021. Proposition 50 would make 5 Republican-held districts more favorable to Democrats based on 2024 presidential election results. Because redistricting authority in California rests with the commission, lawmakers needed to pass a constitutional amendment requiring voter approval to change that process. With $140 million raised, Proposition 50 ranks among the most expensive ballot measure campaigns in state history. In Maine, voters will consider Question 1. The measure would require voters to present photo ID for both in-person and absentee voting, and it would limit each municipality to 1 ballot drop box. It would also repeal provisions allowing recurring absentee ballots for seniors and people with disabilities, and prohibit prepaid postage for returning ballots. Supporters, under the campaign Voter ID for Me, say the measure would improve election integrity. Opponents, through Save Maine absentee voting, say it would restrict access and create unnecessary hurdles for voters. Between 2004 and 2024, voters in 9 states approved 8 of 10 voter ID-related measures. Maine's proposal is unique because it also changes absentee and drop box rules. Also in Maine, Question 2 would create a process for extreme risk protection orders, also known as red flag laws, allowing courts to temporarily restrict access to firearms for individuals deemed a danger to themselves or others. Maine currently has a yellow flag law enacted in 2019, which requires a mental health evaluation before firearms can be seized. Governor Janet Mills opposes Question 2, saying the current law is bipartisan and effective. Supporters, including the Maine Gun Safety Coalition, argue that the yellow flag system doesn't allow families to act quickly enough in crisis situations. Question 2 would let family or household members or law enforcement petition the court for an order lasting up to 1 year with the option to renew or terminate early. Colorado voters will weigh 2 connected measures, Propositions LL and MM, both dealing with funding for the Healthy School Meals for All program, which reimburses schools for providing free meals to students. Proposition LL would allow the state to keep $11.3 million in revenue collected above the amount projected in 2022 under Proposition FF. Proposition MM would further reduce tax deductions for high-income earners, raising an additional $95 million for the program, with any extra revenue directed to the SNAP nutrition program. Together, the measures would expand funding for school meals, but voters could approve one and reject the other, leading to different outcomes. In Texas, Proposition 3 would amend the state constitution to require judges to deny bail to defenders accused of certain violent or sexual felonies after specific considerations, such as community safety. These include crimes such as murder, aggravated assault, and human trafficking. Governor Greg Abbott says the change is necessary to stop a, quote, revolving door bail system, end quote, while critics warn it could expand government power and reduce due process protections. The amendment passed the Texas Senate unanimously and drew bipartisan support in the House. Texas Prop 15. Proposition 15, the Parental Rights Amendment, would establish that parents have the right to, quote, exercise care, custody, and control, end quote, of their children, including decisions about upbringing, education, and well-being. Supporters say the amendment consolidates long-standing legal principles in one place. Opponents argue it could diminish protections for children's rights and welfare. It's the first constitutional amendment on parental rights since a similar proposal failed in Colorado in 1996. Texas Proposition 16. Proposition 16 would amend the Texas Constitution to explicitly state that only U.S. citizens can vote in Texas elections. Although state law already requires voters to be citizens, supporters say adding it to the Constitution makes the rule harder to change in the future. Since 2018, 14 states have passed similar constitutional amendments, all approved by voters. Voters in Texas will also decide on 3 amendments that would prohibit specific taxes. Proposition 2 bans taxes on capital gains. Proposition 6 prohibits taxes on securities transactions. And Proposition 8 bans estate and inheritance taxes. Texas doesn't currently have these taxes, but supporters say constitutional bans would prevent future legislatures from imposing them. Since 1993, Texans have approved 3 similar tax prohibition amendments, the latest in 2023 banning any wealth tax. In New York City, Question 6 would amend the city's charter to move local elections, including the mayoral race, to even-numbered years starting in 2028, aligning them with presidential elections. The change would also require a state constitutional amendment before taking effect. Supporters say this would increase voter turnout and save money. Opponents argue it could drown out local issues amid national campaigns. Finally, New Yorkers will vote on 3 housing and land use charter amendments. Question 2 would create expedited approval processes for publicly financed affordable housing projects. Question 3 would establish a new expedited land use review procedure for certain housing and infrastructure projects. Question 4 would create an affordable housing appeals board to overturn city council decisions rejecting affordable housing. Governor Kathy Hochul supports the measures, saying they'll help address New York's housing crisis. City Council Speaker Adrienne Adams opposes them, arguing they remove public input from the development process. From voting rights and redistricting to education, taxes, and housing, the 2025 ballot measures highlight major policy debates that could shape both state and local governance for years to come. For full coverage of every measure, including campaign finance, polling, and historical context, visit ballotpedia.org. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more nonpartisan, fact-based information on America's politics and elections.